Hi, everyone. Um, Welcome back. We're going to be doing some more Book of Mormon reading. As you can see, I've done a little something different with my hair. If you want to see that experience, go visit me on my other account, Mama Smith, with hair transformation. Okay, so today we are going to be reading in First Nephi. If you read the description, then you'll be able to follow along. There's two different versions that you can follow us along with. There's the app, Gospel Library, and then there's online at lds.org. Again, I have put links in. I have done step-by-step of how to get to where we are. And yeah, so I'm going to be reading off of the online version today. It's the same thing as the app, just on my computer. Okay, so we just finished reading the introductions, the testimonies of the witnesses, and the explanation of what the Book of Mormon is, the summary. So today we are going to be reading 1 Nephi chapter 1. Okay, so here we go. All right, so there is a little description of the Book of Nephi here. And it says, the first book of Nephi, his reign and ministry. An account of Nephi and his wife Sariah and his 4 sons, being called, beginning at the eldest, Laman, Lemuel, Sam, and Nephi. The Lord warns Lehi to depart out of the land of Jerusalem, because he prophesieth unto the people concerning their iniquity, and they seek to destroy his life. He taketh 3 days' journey into the wilderness with his family. There's that 3 again. Nephi taketh his brethren and returneth to the land of Jerusalem after the record of the Jews. The account of their sufferings. They take the daughters of Ishmael to wife. Yay for marriage. They take their families and depart into the wilderness. Their sufferings and afflictions in the wilderness. The course of their travels. They come to the large waters. Nephi's brethren rebel against him. He confoundeth them and buildeth a ship. They call the name of the place Bountiful. They cross the large waters into the promised land, and so forth. This is according to the account of Nephi, or in other words, I, Nephi, wrote this record. That sounds pretty cool to me. I don't know about you, but sounds like a lot's going to happen in this first chapter. So, are you ready to get started? All right. Remember, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to comment. Only nice things, please. And let's get started. More interaction, the better. And I'll try to do my best to answer any questions or things that you have. All right, here we go. Chapter 1, summary. The chapter heading says, Nephi begins the record of his people. Lehi sees in vision a pillar of fire and reads from a book of prophecy. He praises God, foretells the coming of the Messiah, and prophesies the destruction of Jerusalem. He is persecuted by the Jews. It's about 600 BC. BC meaning before Christ. So before he was born. All right. I, Nephi, having been born of goodly parents, therefore I was taught somewhat in all the learning of my father, and having seen many afflictions in the course of my days, nevertheless having been highly favored of the Lord in all my days, yea, having had a great knowledge of the goodness of the mysteries of God, therefore I make a record of my proceedings in my days. So he's keeping a journal. Yea, I make a record in the language of my father, which consists of the learning of the Jews and the language of the Egyptians. Ooh, so he wrote in Egyptian. That's kind of cool. And I know that the record which I make is true. So he just bore his testimony. And I make it with my own hand, and I make it according to my knowledge. For it came to pass in the commencement of the first year of the reign of Zedekiah, king of Judah, my father Lehi having dwelt at Jerusalem in all his days, and in that same year there came many prophets prophesying unto the people that they must repent, or the great city Jerusalem must be destroyed. Wherefore it came to pass that my father Lehi, as he went forth, prayed unto God, yea, even with all his heart, in behalf of his people. Have you ever prayed with all of your heart for something? Lehi went and he prayed not for himself, but for his people, the Jews. And it wasn't just, please help my people. It was a really sincere prayer. Like, my people, these are my people. Help them. Help them feel your love. Help me know what I can do to help my people. It was kind of like what a parent does for their children in their prayers. Like his whole heart was in it, hoping for the best for the people of Jerusalem. Verse 6. And it came to pass that as he prayed unto the Lord, there came a pillar of fire and dwelt upon a rock before him. It seems like he comes before people in fire a lot, like with Moses and the fire and the burning bush. I wonder what that fire symbolizes. Does it symbolize, the kind of just that light, how God is light? I don't know. What are your thoughts and ideas? Continuing verse 6. And he saw and heard much. And because of the things which he saw and heard, he did quake and tremble exceedingly. And it came to pass that he returned to his own house at Jerusalem, and he cast himself upon his bed, being overcome with the Spirit and the things which he had seen. And being thus overcome with the Spirit, he was carried away in a vision, even that he saw the heavens open, and he thought he saw God sitting upon his throne, surrounded with numberless concourses of angels, in the attitude of singing and praising their God. And it came to pass that he saw one descending out of the midst of heaven. And he beheld that his luster was above that of the sun at noonday. Wow, that's bright. And he also saw 12 others following him. 12. Where have we heard 12 following God or Jesus? Think back to the Bible. So the 12 apostles? And he also saw 12 others following him, and their brightness did exceed that of the stars in the firmament. And they came down and went forth upon the face of the earth. And the first came and stood before my father, and gave unto him a book, and bade him that he should read. Ooh, I wonder what this book is. And it came to pass, as he read, he was filled with the Spirit of the Lord. And he read, saying, Woe, woe unto Jerusalem, for I have seen thine abominations. Yea, and many things did my father read concerning Jerusalem. And it should be destroyed, and the inhabitants thereof, many should perish by the sword, and many should be carried away captive into Babylon. Yikes. And it came to pass that when my father had read and seen many great and marvelous things, he did exclaim many things unto the Lord, such as, Great and marvelous are thy works, O Lord God Almighty. Thy throne is high in the heavens, and thy power and goodness and mercy are over all the inhabitants of the earth. And because thou art merciful, thou wilt not suffer those who come unto thee that they shall perish. And after this manner was the language of my father in the praising of his God. For his soul did rejoice, and his whole heart was filled, because of the things which he had seen, yea, which the Lord had shown unto him. And now I, Nephi, do not make a full account of the things which my father hath written, for he hath written many things which he saw in visions and in dreams. And he also hath written many things which he prophesied and spake unto his children, of which I shall not make a full account. So Lehi made his own journal, and Nephi is making his account. And he didn't want to continue writing all the things that his father had already written about. Verse 17. But I shall make an account of my proceedings in my days. Behold, I make an abridgment of the record of my father, upon plates which I have made with mine own hands. Wherefore, after I have abridged the record of my father, then will I make an account of mine own life. So, an abridgment of the record of his father. So he's kind of, interceding the teachings and the records and everything that his father had, along with his own. And then once he's done with that, the parts that he finds is necessary to include, he's going to make an account of his own life. Okay, therefore, I would that ye should know that after the Lord had shown so many marvelous things unto my father Lehi, yea, concerning the destruction of Jerusalem, behold, he went forth among the people, and began to prophesy, and to declare unto them concerning the things which he hath both seen and heard. All right, let's see. Verse 18 has a picture. So there's Lehi teaching and talking to the people of Jerusalem, but it doesn't look like they're very happy with him. Verse 19. And it came to pass that the Jews did mock him because of the things which he testified of them. For he truly testified of their wickedness and their abominations, and he testified that the things which he saw and heard, and also the things which he read in the book, manifested plainly of the coming of Messiah, and also the redemption of the world. And when the Jews heard these things, they were angry with him, yea, even as with the prophets of old, whom they had cast out, and stoned, and slain. And they also sought his life, that they might take it away. But behold, I, Nephi, will show unto you that the tender mercies of the Lord are over all those whom he hath chosen, because of their faith, to make them mighty, even unto the power of deliverance. So nobody likes being told that they're doing something wrong. Am I right? Well, he just went against all of Jerusalem, saying, you're sinning, you're doing bad. And it's not just him. God told him to go do this, but it doesn't make it any easier. And they're like, I'm not doing wrong, I'm doing all right. And they're all getting frustrated, and they wanted to kill him. They wanted to get rid of him. Stop it. I am enjoying what I'm doing. I don't need you telling me what I'm doing right and wrong. And that it was just not a good thing for them. But I like what he says at the end of it, though. The tender mercies of the Lord are over all those whom he hath chosen, because of their faith, to make them mighty, even in the power of deliverance. So if you're righteous, if you're staying close to God, if you're reading your scriptures, if you're praying, if you're really doing everything you know to follow Christ, then he will deliver you. Okay, let's put it in today's world. you, for instance, are stressed in a place that you're living, but you can't get out. If you're doing everything you can, both temporal and spiritual, you're working, you're praying, you're reading your scriptures, you're doing everything you can to save up for it, to plan and prepare. He's going to provide a way for you to get out. It might not be in your timing, but he will get you out. Okay, we're going to move over to chapter 2 of First Nephi. If you're on the computer, just click the arrow that's pointing to on your right-hand side. If you're on the app, just swipe to the left. Okay. Philip Nielsen. The Jews not very happy with new revelation. Sounds familiar, a little foreboding to the future. Yeah, it does sound a lot like the world today. It's kind of scary. But it's a very good example of relating it to today. There's a lot of people that's not happy with what's going on or where this is going, but all of the people who are staying close to God, they're reading the scripture. I keep repeating the same stuff, but it's, if you're reading your scriptures, if you're praying, if you're doing everything you can, and maybe even getting food storage, prepare, stay close to God. He will get us through this. Okay, so First Nephi chapter 2. The chapter heading reads, Lehi takes his family into the wilderness by the Red Sea. They leave their property. Lehi offers a sacrifice to the Lord and teaches his sons to keep the commandments. Laman and Lemuel murmur against their father. Nephi is obedient and prays in faith. The Lord speaks to him, and he's chosen to rule over his brethren. It's about 600 BC. All right, starting in verse 1. For behold, it came to pass that the Lord spake unto my father, yea, even in a dream, and said unto him, Blessed art thou, Lehi, because of the things which thou hast done, and because thou hast been faithful, and declared unto this people the things which I commanded thee. Behold, they seek to take away thy life. And it came to pass that the Lord commanded my father, even in a dream, that he should take his family and depart into the wilderness. There seems to be a picture for this one too. All right. There we go. Looks like that's them leaving into the wilderness. All right. All right, verse 3. And it came to pass that he was obedient unto the word of the Lord, wherefore he did as the Lord commanded him. There's another way that we can make sure that we follow Christ is be obedient. If you go and pray, you got to pray with real intent. If God tells you something and answers your prayer, you need to be ready and willing to act on that answer, even if it's not something that you like or understand. And this was a difficult thing for them to leave. In verse 4, it says, It came to pass that he departed into the wilderness. He left his house and the land of his inheritance. Who wants to leave the land of their inheritance? And his gold and his silver and his precious things, and he took nothing with him save it were his family and provisions and tents, and departed into the wilderness. He took the necessities. That was such a big thing to ask of someone, especially when you don't see. He says that they're going to destroy Jerusalem. Can you see it happening yet? No. It's like the prophet in today's time. A couple prophets ago, I think. I can't remember exactly which prophet it was. I think it was President Hinckley. I can't remember exactly, but a while ago, they started saying you need to start storing your food storage. Get it. And not everybody understood it. But people started getting their food storage. And, there have been different experiences of, he lost his job and they needed food and they had it. Or just there's this big one with the COVID-19, and some people weren't able to leave their houses. And now they had food at home. They had their food storage. There's so many different reasons why God will tell you to do something. You have to trust him. And Lehi and his family trusted God in this. Verse 5. And he came down by the borders near the shore of the Red Sea, and he traveled in the wilderness in the borders which are near the Red Sea. And he did travel in the wilderness with his family, which consisted of my mother Sariah, my elder brothers, who were Laman, Lemuel, and Sam. So there was mom and dad, Lehi and Sariah, and then there were 4 sons, Nephi, Sam, Lemuel, and Laman. Laman's the oldest, then there's Lemuel, then Sam, then Nephi. Nephi is the youngest of all of them. Verse 6. And it came to pass that when he had traveled 3 days in the wilderness, he pitched his tent in a valley by the side of a river of water. And it came to pass that he built an altar of stones. Sorry, I just lost my place. Verse 7. And it came to pass that he built an altar of stones and made an offering unto the Lord and gave thanks unto the Lord our God. Philip Nielsen. Remember, he was wealthy. It would be like an A-list celebrity just one day deciding to go off and live in a van by the river. It was a big deal. They were leaving behind a lot. I agree. It definitely was a big deal. That's a very good comparison. Thank you. All right, we just read verse 7. I'm going to reread it though. And it came to pass that he built an altar of stones and made an offering unto the Lord and gave thanks unto the Lord our God. I think that shows a lot. He might not have understood a lot, but he recognized that something big was going to happen and a negative impact on Jerusalem because they were sinning and being unrighteous. And so God directed them and got them out of the situation. And immediately he goes and prays and gives thanks. Gratitude is such an important factor in all of this. And when you do something and you give thanks, he's so much more readily willing to give you the next step, another prompting, another advice. He's going to give you more direction because he trusts you to act on what he has just given you. Verse 8. And it came to pass that he called the name of river Laman, and it emptied into the Red Sea, and the valley was in the borders near the mouth thereof. And when my father saw the waters of the river emptied into the fountain of the Red Sea, he spake unto Laman, saying, Oh, that thou mightst be like unto this river, continually running into the fountain of all righteousness. And he also spake unto Lemuel, Oh, that thou mightst be like unto this valley, firm and steadfast and immovable, in keeping the commandments of the Lord. Now this he spake because of the stiff-neckedness of Laman and Lemuel. For behold, they did murmur in many things against their father, because he was a visionary man, and had led them out of the land of Jerusalem, to leave the land of their inheritance, and their gold, and their silver, and their precious things, to perish in the wilderness. And this they said he had done because of the foolish imaginations of his heart. And thus Laman and Lemuel, being the eldest, did murmur against their father. And they did murmur because they knew not the dealings of that God who had created them. So they went because Daddy said so. But they don't have the faith. They don't have their testimony yet. They don't know for themselves that this was what God asked them to do. That's hard. I mean, First of all, you're leaving all of your stuff, all your good stuff that we talked about earlier, right? And if you don't understand or have a testimony of God and his dealings and that this was directed from God, yeah, it's pretty upsetting. Why are you taking me away from all of my stuff, my good stuff that can help us in so much? But if you do have a testimony and the faith, then you understand. Then it's not just a whim of an idea. You're crazy. No, it's okay. God asked me to do this. God sees the full picture. I can do this. It's going to be really, really, really hard, but I can do this. I trust him. Trevor Thomas, hi. Hi. Welcome aboard. All right, verse 13. Neither did they believe that Jerusalem, that great city, could be destroyed, according to the words of the prophets. And they were like unto the Jews who were at Jerusalem, who sought to take away the life of my father. So Nephi just compared them to the Jews in Jerusalem. That's a pretty intense comparison. Verse 14. And it came to pass that my father did speak unto them in the valley of Lemuel with power, being filled with the Spirit, until their frames did shake before him. And he did confound them, and they durst not utter against him. Wherefore they did as he commanded them. So they felt the Spirit. They recognized what he was saying was true in the moment, or that it was just so powerful that maybe they were scared to confront him. Either way, it says their frames did shake before him. They felt it. They recognized it. And they decided to kind of back off. And verse 15. And my father dwelt in a tent. You know, why is that so important to know? Is it a humility lesson? He was this really, really wealthy man, and he's now dwelling in a tent. Interesting to think about. My baby just woke up. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay. Say hi to everyone. Say hi. We're reading the Book of Mormon. Yeah. Okay. All right, verse 16. And it came to pass that I, Nephi, being exceedingly young, nevertheless being large in stature, so was a big guy, and also having great desires to know the mysteries of God, wherefore I did cry unto the Lord, and behold, he did visit me and did soften my heart, that I did believe all the words which had been spoken by my father. Wherefore I did not rebel against him like unto my brothers. So he did what you're supposed to do. If you don't understand something, you go to the source of truth, God. He went and he prayed. He said, okay, look, my father, he's saying all these things. He's just drove us out of our land, and we're going into the wilderness, and he's saying that you told him to do this. Is it true? Did you really tell my father to take us out of this land? and into the wilderness. And because he went with a sincere heart, really wanting to know, God answered him. And he touched his heart and helped him know that this was from God. Verse 17. And I spake unto Sam, making known unto him the things which the Lord had manifested unto me by his Holy Spirit. And it came to pass that he believed in my words. That's cool. But behold, Laman and Lemuel would not hearken unto my words. And being grieved because of the hardness of their hearts, I cried unto the Lord for them. And it came to pass that the Lord spake unto me, saying, Blessed art thou, Nephi, because of thy faith, for thou hast sought me diligently with lowliness of heart. Also known as, you came to me with a humble heart. Verse 20. And inasmuch as ye shall keep my commandments, ye shall prosper, and shall be led to a land of promise, yea, even a land which I have prepared for you, yea, a land which is choice above all other lands. That's pretty cool. And inasmuch as thy brethren shall rebel against thee, they shall be cut off from the presence of the Lord. And inasmuch as thou shalt keep my commandments, thou shalt be made a ruler and a teacher over thy brethren. Wowza! That's a big responsibility and kind of a intimidating thing, isn't it? I think so. But I mean, it just goes to show, how important it is to be righteous. God's going to trust the righteous, not the unrighteous who are sinning and don't care what he says. Okay. Verse 23. For behold, in that day that they shall rebel against me, I will curse them, even with a sore curse. And they shall have no power over thy seed, except they shall rebel against me also. So he just gave, a pretty big deal saying, if they choose, it's their choice. If they choose to rebel against me, he's going to curse them with a sore curse. Not just a curse, a sore curse. And they shall have no power over thy seed, except they shall rebel against me also. So as long as Nephi's seed are righteous, his posterity, all the unrighteous have no effect on them. Verse 24. And if it so be that they rebel against me, they shall be scourge unto thy seed, to stir them up in the ways of remembrance. Whew, man, that's a pretty intense promise curse. It's a lot going on, but sorry, Rose, I didn't realize you weren't being seen. Well, that's all we're going to read for today. We read both 1 Nephi chapter 1 and chapter 2. It was a long but really informative and cool reading. And we got into the wilderness with Nephi and his family and the promises and the curses that were given unto them. We also learned about the importance of, staying righteous, but also at the same time, if you don't understand something, to go to God and to recognize sorry, baby issues. Hold on. Sorry, 1 second. We had a drill monster on our hands. Okay, so again, just the fact that if you don't understand something, go to God, ask Him. Did you tell my father that we needed to do this? Did you say that whatever it was directed? Or be like, look, this is what's going on right now. What do I do? How can I move forward in this? There's so many different ways to recognize God's hand, and you're not going to know unless you ask. So don't assume. Go ask God. And again, when you go to God, ask with real intent and a sincere heart. Be humble and be willing to act on whatever God tells you. Well, looks like that's what is going to end our session today. Thanks for everybody who joined. Thanks, Philip and Trevor, for commenting. And I hope that you guys all have a wonderful, beautiful Sabbath Sunday. And if you have any more questions or comments, again, please keep it nice. I will be willing and do my best to answer them. And I hope you guys have a great day. And we will see you again next Sunday, starting in chapter 3. Exciting. What do you guys think will happen? Layman and Lemuel are kind of scary, aren't they? Getting up there. But right now, they're just kind of at that point where they're just kind of curious. They don't understand, so they're kind of frustrated, which is, normal. But it's a little nerve-wracking that Nephi compared them to the Jews in Jerusalem who wanted to kill his father, so that's intense. But all right, we'll see what happens. Bye, everybody.